Hey everyone, Eric with SpeeDetail here, and I just wanted to go over this short video with you and show you how we do headlight restoration. If your headlights are cloudy, faded, and just unsafe for night driving, this is a good video for you to watch. We had some issues while recording, so we're doing a voiceover here, but the whole process is on video, and kind of walk you through the steps of what we did. So you want to first start off by taping off the edges all around the headlight lens. We want to protect the paint and the trim that butt up against the plastic lens. We're going to be using sandpaper. We're going to be spraying soapy water solution, and then at the end we'll be using ceramic coating to seal in the results that we get. And so we want to keep as much of that off the edge of the paint, specifically the sandpaper. We want to keep that from scratching as much as possible, so that's why we're taping off the edges. So right there we just have it's just a soapy water solution, not a lot of soap, just a little bit. We just need to reduce the friction. We want to try to make sure we don't leave any sanding marks in the headlights, and sometimes that's impossible. It's just the nature of the game. It does happen, but we want to eliminate that as much as we can. So the first thing, once we get that headlight cleaned and then lubricated up a little bit, we're going to start out on these. We started with 800 grit sandpaper. Typically we only start with around 1,000, but we went 800 here. And you want to go left to right, long ways, side to side motions. Try to keep that going in the same direction best we can. That way if there are sand marks, but we want everything to be as uniform as possible. Sometimes once you get around to the side over there, around the corner, I guess, of the headlight, you do have to go up and down a little bit to get some force behind your sanding. It's such a small area that side to side doesn't always work on the end over there. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. But you can see all the residue coming up off the headlight. That's actually the oxidation from UV damage just sitting in the sun. That's not from the sandpaper. That's actually the nastiness coming off the headlight. See, there's what I'm talking about on the corner on the small side of the headlight. It's a little bit harder to get a kind of a good grip, I guess. Can't make a whole lot of progress with the sandpaper like that, but we started that way just to get it going. But I think later on here we're going to go up and down a little bit. But on this main section here, long broad strokes side to side. It's important to keep that headlight wet. We don't want to dry sand on that. But the lenses are plastic, will definitely have gouges. There's sanding marks in there, and plus all the old stuff that we're pulling up, if we don't keep that lubricated, we'll also be grinding that right back into the plastic too. Okay, looks like we're going to rinse that here. Okay, wipe that off, and then so basically, depending on that step, it's supposed to start looking more cloudy and foggy at this point, because now we've scuffed it up with our 800 grit sandpaper. And sometimes we'll take a close look after each round of sanding. If it looks like all that oxidation's not off, we'll go back over that again with that 800 grit that we started with. But in this case, it got quite a bit of the yellow hazing off there. So we bumped up to 1,000 grit sandpaper. And you want to go up in as little steps as possible. You don't want to jump up from 800 and then go up to 1,500 or 2,000. Jump it up gradually. That's going to get you the best results. So I think we go 800, 1,000, and then we go 1,200 after this. But same steps as the first time. Long broad strokes side to side, at least on the main area of the lens. We're going to try to reduce sanding marks and any kind of gouging as much as we possibly can. and you can see more of the oxidation coming up. And then a little bit of that white mixture is a little bit of the sandpaper and water combining as well. But mostly that's oxidation coming off the headlight. Once again, it's important to keep that sandpaper and the headlight wet. You don't want that drying out. That will certainly lead to sand marks. Once again, doing the baby strokes on the side there. It's very tedious. Some headlights it's even worse. Much smaller area to work with. So just have to be patient on those. Wet that down again, dry it off. Still hazy, but we're only at 1,000 grit here. As we work our way up to finer sandpaper, this headlight lens will start clearing up. You'll notice the difference once we get up here to 1,500. And we're just going to repeat the same steps again. It's pretty much just the same process over and over. You just got to find the right initial grit of sandpaper to make sure it's going to remove oxidation, and then after that we're just going to step our way up to finer and finer sandpaper until it's time to polish. And you'll see what I mean there. Same process, just keep that lens wet, keep the sandpaper wet, back and forth. We want a uniform look, so typically try to keep the same arm motion, same pattern. Not always perfect, but these are headlights on a 2008 Dodge Avenger. They're pretty rough. Car sits outside year-round. It's not been driven a lot lately, so it's really just been sitting out in the sun baking. These headlight lenses have no protection on them whatsoever, so that's why they were so yellow and cloudy. Once we get them back to an acceptable condition, we're going to ceramic coat them, just like we would the paint. The coating is going to lock in those results, and it'll last 1 to 2 years on the plastic trim. It doesn't bond that to the headlight lenses quite as long as it does to your clear coat of paint, but it will keep them protected, and you won't have to keep redoing the headlights. So in a year and a half, we'll just reapply the coating over top of the lens. We won't have to re-sand these or anything like that, as long as we recoat them before any more damage can be done by the sun. Dry it off there, and I think here we're getting ready to go for I think we're at 1,500 grit sandpaper on this step. Same process, just like the 800. You can see that light's clearing up a lot from where it was after the first stage of sanding. So it's starting to clear up on its own. I think we even have one more stage after this one. Not perfect, but yes, it already looks way better. You're starting to see, I think once we wipe off here, you'll actually start to see the bulb again inside of there. Things are coming to life. If you're doing this on your own at home, you can buy kits from most of your auto parts stores. Most of those have 2 or 3 different kinds of grits of sandpaper. And then they have some kind of clear coat wipe usually. that you apply over top when you're finished. I would say some of them are very good. I don't know exactly which brand. I feel like there was a Sylvania brand that may have worked really well. Some of them are not very good. I don't have any specific recommendations. It's kind of just a trial and error. We just use our own sandpaper, our own cleaning solution, and then we use our own ceramic coating as well. So it can be done without the kits. If you're going to order the sandpaper, I would recommend just ordering everything between 1,000 and 3,000. And then if you can get a hold of some kind of compounding polish and a polishing pad, we do use the machine polisher, but they can be done by hand as a last step after the sandpaper. So if you can get a polishing pad and some compound, you can follow up your sanding with that to really provide one final fine step to perfect that headlight before you coat it. I believe this is our last stage of sanding here. I think this is the 2000 grit. We may hit it one more time with this sandpaper. Normally, I would go up to 3000 before I polish, but this is one of our personal vehicles and I didn't have any 2500 or 3000 grit paper on hand. So that's why I stopped at the 2000. So you can see we actually could have even made that more, just a little more clear, I believe, before our polishing stage. So we didn't have it on hand and we were just trying to make a demonstration video, but I would recommend going up to 3000 grit if you're doing this on your own vehicle. We're getting a little more aggressive on that side piece there, but we're on a much higher grit of sandpaper. Way less chance of doing any kind of damage. Always keep that headlight wet. Anytime that sandpaper touches the headlight, keep it wet as well. Can't stress that enough. Look how much more clear that light is from where we started, and even after our first couple stages of sanding. Much improved. We do offer this as a service, but as you can see in the video, these were pretty rough headlights. We've seen worse, but we've seen a lot better too. And these took it's gonna be 15-20 minutes to get the job done. So this is something that you can do on your own. Don't be afraid of it. Be cautious of the fact that you can scratch the headlight lenses. Just slow, steady. Patience is definitely key here. I'm not sure if that was the 1500. Yep, that was the 2000. Okay, so here we're going to polish it. I got the machine polisher, 3D1 compound. It's a light cut, nothing too abrasive. So we're gonna rub that compound on the light, and then this polisher is just it's a lot finer than the 2000 grit sandpaper. It's going to kind of put our finishing touches on here. It's really gonna help us take that clarity to the next level. This will be our last stage. I think we do 2 rounds of this at our last stage before we apply the protective coating. Same idea as the sandpaper, kind of side to side best you can, but this isn't nearly as crucial to go side to side as it is with the sandpaper. This, you can just make sure you get the whole lens But up and down, side to side, crosshatch pattern to make sure we didn't miss any spots. But nothing to worry about like with the sandpaper as far as scratch marks or anything like that. Just make sure your pad's clean, your headlight lens is clean before you start polishing. Now, as you can see though, the clarity's really stepping up. Don't skip that last stage of the polishing. If you can't get a hold of a polisher, like I said, at least get you a polishing pad. Buy you some cheap compound. It doesn't matter the brand on something like this, but that will really help with that final stage before protection. Like I said, we could have really, I think, even improved this more than it did, had we taken 2500 and 3000 grit sandpaper. But even without those two steps, you can see the dramatic improvement. And this is a lot better, in my opinion, than going out and spending, possibly $400 on a pair of new headlight lenses. And some cars, much more than that, even into the $1,000 range for new headlights. So definitely worth learning how to do or having someone do for you. We start this service around $169 for most headlights, which that certainly beats $400, $500, $600 for a new set. Wrap up this final stage of polish here. That's a 3-inch pad. This is a pretty big headlight as far as no interruptions in the surface area. It's just a big broad headlight. A lot of the newer ones are not big open spaces like this. They got more details, cuts, curves in them. So it is going to be harder to polish with an actual machine polisher. And that's where just getting a hold of a pad may come in handy for you, because they are a lot more intricate on most cars nowadays. Okay, that was our final wipe down. As you can see now, we're a little bit out of frame there, but that's our applicator. We put our ceramic coating on. Same deal here, just do smooth, kind of broad strokes. We're going to try to make sure we don't have any high spots on the headlight lens. So what we'll do is apply our coating here. We'll let this, what we call cure, we'll let that start to bond to the lens, and then after 5-10 minutes we will come back and wipe it away. What that does is takes away any excess residue. If that excess residue doesn't get wiped away and it starts to bond and dry to that headlight, you'll have what's called a high spot. It'll be really noticeable. You'll be able to see it, feel it, and it'll just be unsightly, and it'll be a distraction on your headlight. So we got to come back and make sure we do that final wipe down, make sure we're smooth and clear. Just cleaning up the surrounding area here while we're waiting on that coating to bond. Just be careful. I don't recommend really trying to clean this up while you're waiting on your clear coat or your ceramic coating, whichever you use, while you're waiting on that to cure. I did edit there. We waited 10 minutes, I believe, so we just cut to the wipe down phase. But I do recommend waiting until that coating is completely dry before you spray any kind of cleaner on the surrounding areas to clean up the car. You don't want to hit that headlight while that coating's curing. You don't want to hit that with any water, chemicals, anything like that. So let that dry before you do your final cleanup. And that's the final product there. You can see the difference, just going over one final wipe down to ensure no high spots. But that's it, and we're peeling the tape, and then we'll wipe down those edges very, very carefully. We don't want to mess with our protective layer that we just applied, so we want to make sure that gets completely dry before that gets touched. So very carefully remove your tape. Maybe a little bit of residue left over from the tape, very carefully wipe that away, and you got a brand new headlight. What a difference. Well, thank you for watching our video. If you have any questions, please comment on any of our blog posts, reach out to us on Facebook, social media. We're all over the internet. So any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you. Have a great day.